Today, we're talking about Pyke. 6 years ago, Pyke came out. So let's go over his abilities real quick so we all know what he does. Pyke's passive is Gift of the Drowned Ones. Pyke stores a percentage of his lethality in damage taken from champions increased when there's more than one enemy nearby. Pyke can store up to a percentage of his attack damage for a cap on this gray health mechanic. While unseen by enemies, he rapidly regenerates this stored damage. Additionally, Pyke converts all maximum health increases to attack damage instead, at a rate of 14 health to 1 attack damage. This means that Pyke can trade in lane, get a gray health bar, go out of vision, and heal. And whenever he buys any ruby crystals or health items, such as the Edge of Night with 250 health on it, that's going to go all the damage. And that looks like this here, when he takes the damage and then heals. Pretty simple. Now Pyke's Q is Bone Skewer. He can tap it and he stabs the air, dealing damage to the first enemy hit, preferring champions, and they are slowed 90% for 1 second. Or you can hold it, and he throws the harpoon, dealing physical damage to the first enemy hit and pulling them towards him. Then they are slowed by 90% for 1 second. If Pyke successfully hits an enemy champion, or the channel does not complete successfully, 75% of the mana cost is refunded. This is good if you know you're going to miss, just don't throw it. You'll get a mana refund. This is his main hook engage. This is what everybody's worried about getting hit with. But as you can see, it ramps up. So you only need to channel it as long as necessary to get this line to show up, and then it will pull. So even if they're in melee, you can do a very short channel and pull them over you. And we'll see that in some of the videos. Pyke's W is Ghostwater Dive. Pyke gains Camouflage and movement speed based on his lethality, decaying over 5 seconds. So camouflage units cannot be seen unless an enemy champion is inside their detection radius. This is the circle around Pyke. So you want to dance on the edge of the circle when you're camouflaged, so that if the enemy gives you an opening to make a play, they'll get a trigger that you're near, but they don't know exactly where you are. And this is going to help when you roam over the Scuttle Crab vision. You will get seen by control wards, but you can use this to get into position or out or disengage, or just roam. You can use it for movement speed out of the base. And this is onto the E, Phantom Undertow. Pyke dashes, leaving behind a drowned phantom that returns to him shortly. The phantom stuns for 1.25 seconds, scaling with lethality, and deals damage based on your attack damage, physical damage to champions. So this is your follow-up or a repositioner. If you E in at the wrong time, yes, you can also flash to get it to activate at the last second. And if you use this too early, you could kill yourself. If you go in too aggressively, you could use W after it. We'll get into some more combos later, but you can E over them and then go use Ghostwater Dive to give you the movement speed to position the Phantom across the enemies. You can hook and then Undertow away, and that'll disengage you and stun them, dispositioning them and stunning them. These are all good combos, but sometimes you also just want to E in so you can get into hook range. And you're not going to hit anyone with the ability, you're just going to get close enough to make the play. So there's a lot of use cases and pretty big learning curve here. Death from Below is the ultimate. Pyke strikes all enemy champions in an X, teleporting to and executing targets below a portion of their health. Champions above the threshold and non-champions instead take physical damage equal to 50% of that amount. When an enemy champion dies inside the X, Pyke can recast the ability for free within 20 seconds. If he executed that champion, the last assisting ally will also get kill gold. If he did not, he will still get kill gold as if he did. What does this all mean? This means that you have a resetting execute to clean up fights, which you'll share the gold with your teammates. If you hit somebody with it, but they get the kill, which happens sometimes, because there's a time between when you cast it and they get executed for some reason, that your teammates can steal the kill from you, you'll get the kill gold. They'll get the kill, but you'll get the coins in your inventory for the gold. Now you can also use this to teleport. You can just use this as E, Phantom Undertow, into Death from Below to teleport to reposition for the stun. So you could ERW position for the stun, or you could ER flash position for the stun. You do the displacement pull and then W away. There's a lot of combos available. Here's what it looks like, and the opponents will get a different sound effect if you're in Ghostwater Dive and they're in execute range. So they'll be doubly afraid. But they still can't see you unless they're in your circle. Yeah, so you get a little gold up there. So you see, as soon as Pyke gets into range of this circle, Jinx is going to see him. And that's when you get the purple exclamation point. You know you're seen now. And she sees Pyke, and so she autos him. He hits the hook, right? That's going to pull her behind him, and then dives through her exit path. And she walks into the stun. Well, we'll go over more in-depth stuff in our 3 example games. Let's get into builds and runes for now, and talk about what's important as far as this goes. Basically, everybody is going to want to take the earliest game rune, Hail of Blades, and that's because, let's talk about Pyke's identity real quick. His power spike is on no items and 1 item, and then he falls off a cliff when everybody else gets 2 items. Your main goal is to be making plays early and often. You are the playmaking, early game support. So when we get down into runes, let's start with runes. This means Hail of Blades is the most early game rune that's going to fall off also. You can go Dark Harvest or Electrocute or whatever, but it's just not... These 3 attacks with Hail of Blades is just going to help get people, before you even get level 6 and you get your ultimate, to that execute range, which we'll talk about a lot. Getting people to the execute range is super important. Hail of Blades is just going to allow you, when you do hook somebody or stun them in lane, to get these 3 auto attacks off, and really, it's really the only way you can trade early on and have some sort of pressure in your trading pattern. Otherwise, your auto attacks really don't do that much damage. You really need people to follow up on your hook stun combo. So you can take either Sun Impact or Cheap Shot. They both do similar damage, but they have different cooldowns. So this is a 10-second cooldown, and this is a 4-second cooldown. You are going to impair their. You can trigger both of them with your dash stun or your hook. So it's kind of up to you which one you want to rely on. Do you want to rely on hitting your hook? Go with Cheap Shot. You want to rely on hitting your stun? Go with Sudden Impact. I have Sudden Impact on here. For the second rune slot down here, if you're building, it kind of depends on your build now, but if you're building Umbral Glaive, which you probably will, you can just take Zombie Ward, because you're going to be able to stack a lot of wards really fast to stack this, and you don't really have to worry about kills. But if you're planning not to build Umbral Glaive, definitely switch over to Eyeball Collection, because you're not going to have as many sweeper effects on you to kill wards with. And so there's, if you change the build, if you change your items, you kind of have to change your runes also, in that sense. Because if you didn't know, Umbral Glaive lets you see enemy stealth wards and traps for 8 seconds. And then you also deal more damage to wards, so you can clear them fast. For the third slot here, I went with Relentless Hunter after debating, because in games where you can roam mid, or you are roaming to top, your out of combat movement speed does matter. It matters a lot. And that's why this one's titled Pyke Mid Roam, because we are actually stacking sorcery, celerity, and water walking to be able to get mid lane from bot even faster and make plays mid also. Or if we go to like top objective fights out of base, we want to be able to get back bot as fast as possible. And that's what brings me to the two different pages. This is the one you go when the enemy support is a hook or an engaged champion. If they're Leona, Nautilus, Blitzcrank, if they are a tanky engaged support versus an enchanter or a mage support. Because you're going to have a lot of pressure versus enchanters and mages already, and then you can roam away from lane, is the idea. But versus tanky engage hook champions, if they go on you or your AD carry, you're going to have trouble. Without bone plating, you kind of don't want to get caught out by these guys. And we have even taking ability haste in early life and demolish, because chances are if they're an engage or hook champion, you are going to have at least equal wave control, and you can proc demolish. And you'll notice that demolish has a pretty significant win rate advantage over these other ones. So conversely, I mean, second wind is an option if you feel like you're going to get poked out by a mage. But if you're versus a mage, you might as well wait and dodge their poke and then roam away. And you can actually, all this movement speed goes crazy with like how much pressure you're able to apply by getting mid and across the map. Or back bot if you went, you go top lane. So I mean, if you're actually super afraid of getting poked out, second wind is an option, but I don't think it's a good option, because if they're playing Lux or Vel'Koz, you have kill threat if you don't get hit. Just don't get hit and wait for your opportunity. If you are like, it's a lot harder to not get hit by like Leona that can just flash on you, or you're trying to ward and Nautilus or Blitzcrank or somebody hooks you. Right. You can also take unflinching to double down on this defensiveness, but actually demolish helps you take early plates versus a melee matchup that seems good. So that's your two rune pages that I settled on. There's definitely other options and combinations here, but after much debate and deliberation, this seems to be generally the two kinds of games you'll be in. And this is the same for a lot of supports, not just Pyke, but generally you want to have two rune pages, one for engage hook champions and one for poke mage enchanter champions. And that's going to depend on how you think the game's going to play out. So let's move over to items now. For items, ignore the mid here. For items, there really seems to be a strong case of two games you're also going to be in. You're going to be in the standard Pyke game, where you want to go for this cheap Umbral Glaive, into probably the cheap Edge of Night. So the Glaive is going to give you much more vision control, and that's why we also go Ghost Poro, because we are going to go Umbral Glaive in a lot of our games. Into the Edge of Night, and then into a defensive item, either Maw or Frozen Heart. So we'll have a Spell Shield, we'll have a Magic Damage Shield, or we'll slow their attack speed. Because after so long, after the first couple lethality items, Pyke really just wants to be able to do his thing without dying. Because you're going to have a bounty. And in a lot of games with Pyke, you're going to have a bounty. And so just building more defensive items is going to help protect that bounty. Now, an alternative build that you can go for is the Voltaic Cyclosword. Potentially Hubris, but don't really think you need Hubris per se, or opportunity. The real thing with Voltaic Cyclosword is that this energized attack that it gives you that deals 100 bonus damage and slows is going to help you get a lot of characters to the execute threshold, like no other item is, right? You can get extra movement speed to go mid more. That's great. No, you can get more attack damage after you kill somebody. That's cool. But it's kind of like a win more ability. You can get more movement speed from opportunity after you kill somebody to help you get out, but that doesn't help you kill them in the first place. The only item here that really helps you kill somebody in the first place that's worth talking about is Voltaic Cyclosword, because it gives you an extra ability's worth of damage, an extra 100 damage and a slow. That's really going to help you. So if you manage to pick up a lot of extra gold, we're talking 400 extra gold, and you can finish Cyclosword at the same time as Umbral Glaive, you might just want to go for the Cyclosword and take on a more of a damage dealing role, and the mindset that I'm going to help get people to the execute threshold. I'm not going to sit around and wait for my team to do it. Because with Umbral Glaive, you really don't do that much damage. You're more of a playmaker, whereas the Cyclosword turns you into more of an assassin. Now, after Cyclosword, everything's a little bit more balanced out. I don't really see the need for a Ghostblade a ton of the time. The extra move speed can be nice. Opportunity is really nice at staying alive, but so is the Spell Shield that you get from Edge of Night. So it really depends on your game, but generally, most games, Umbral Glaive into Edge of Night into a defensive item is going to be enough. Death's Dance is another defensive item instead of Frozen Heart that you could think about, and so is Guardian Angel. All of these armor items are potentials, and all of the lethality damage items are potentials. But the Spell Shield, the fact that you convert this health on Edge of Night to damage, and you get a Spell Shield, really makes it stand out. Because you know how annoying Nocturne is with his Spell Shield once he gets on top of you. Pyke can be very similar. And you're really making it easier to play the champion rather than stacking more damage at some point. You can stack all the damage you want, but if you get blown up, it doesn't really matter. So that's the build. Those are the runes. For boots, if you end up with boots really, really early, the Symbiotic Souls are great. If they have slowing effects, the Swiftness boots are great. Otherwise, the Ionian boots are fine. You see the win rates here. Even the Mercury Treads may come into play if they have excessive amounts of CC. The 30% tenacity could save your life. Think about that. At the end of the day, every build, from your runes to your item build, is all about what you think is going to happen in your matchup, right? Who's on the enemy team? Who's on your team? And how do you think the game's going to play out? But for most cases, your average game, right? If we're talking about the average game, we are grabbing Symbiotic Souls early. We're grabbing Umbral Glaive early. We're stacking our zombie ward from the enemy support's wards. And we're using Relentless Hunter to roam mid with our Celerity and Water Walking. Or we're being a little bit more careful versus an engaged support, and we're taking Bone Plating and Demolish, and whenever we crash a wave on their tower, we're trying to get a Demolish proc to get those early plates, and that we can funnel that back into our items so that we can hit an item a little bit earlier and try to take that advantage. So that's basically the two types of games you're in. Okay, so we have in this matchup Pyke Lucian versus Ezreal Lux in the bot lane. This gives us pretty good trades as long as neither me or Lucian get hit with lots of skill shots. We're going to jump forward here to my first play, my first roam, mid. After we get level 3, the lane's kind of stalled out. We still have a lot of health, but there's not a lot for us to do in lane. So we're roaming mid, level 3, we're 3 minutes into the game now, and this is a dangerous mid roam because Aurelia is going to be here at full life. So it's going to be rough for me and Ziggs to pull this off. Very close. But if we land everything, and there's a little bit anti-synergy here when Ziggs knocks her away from my hook. But that's alright. As long as we play it out, we both get hit with the stun. Pretty good by Aurelia, but my Q comes back off of cooldown. So that's a W. And this allows me to come back to lane with a serrated Dirk. As soon as I get back into lane, I'm forcing my serrated Dirk advantage by blowing Ezreal's flash on the first engage. And on the second engage, I'm going to get him. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go up in the bush, and I'm going to look for opportunity for him to step too far forward, and I'm going to make my play. E flash, Q, auto attack with ignite. Hail of Blades, 3 attacks. Perfect amount of damage to finish him off. They were also stuck in lane with no mana. That's good to notice there. When I came back from my mid roam, they were still in lane with no mana. Common and low elo. Now let's go back mid. Out of base from that, we have 2 more longswords, but she bought a control ward. Aurelia bought a control ward for the roam. I'm going to kill the control ward, act like I leave, and double back. Because my jungler's here. Even if their jungler shows up, because their jungler saw me on the control ward, now he's looking to counter my gank, but he doesn't know that my jungler's also here. So we're able to get a 3v2. Their support did not follow my roam, and a little bit of miscommunication there. There's the Lux a little bit late. That's going to let us get a sweet little playoff.
Welcome to the water.
Clear 1 more ward, and we can make our way back down bot because we still have full resources, and since Lucian's been alone, he has a level advantage. So we have another play to make on the roam bot. This is high tempo with Pyke. Now the Briar ult misses, but that's fine. A little bit of confusion on my ability usage, but we're able to be so far ahead here, even with everyone has ults. They almost trade back. That was not much of an advantage for us, just 1 level on Lucian there. But now when I come back, I have my item. I have Umbral Glaive. And it's easy play there, and an easy play on mid also. And with the Briar Hole hitting, Aurelia's fate is sealed. Now we're back in lane with Lux alone. Where's the Ezreal? Nobody knows. Not here to save her. Now, at this point of the game, my mid laner is top with our jungler, and they are kind of getting destroyed up here in the skirmish. So we're going to respond to the skirmish, make sure we're there for the little fight. And we should be good enough to peel our Ziggs out here. Well, we didn't save him, but we can probably get Lux on the back end. You gotta respond to those fights in the side lanes. Now this is our dragon fight. First one, 18 minutes, is pretty late, but we're able to pick off the Lux. For some reason, really, it doesn't turn on me. Sack misses. And this extend fight is just what we want. I'll have all my cooldowns back. And with all my cooldowns, I can take out Aurelia also. A little E flash, finish her off with ult, and we're gonna kite away. The Ezreal puts us in kill range, so we're just gonna kite this one out and re-engage with our team. Ult comes up late, but it's all good. It's a winning fight all around. We're 11-0 at this stage. Now we came back in with our Edge of Night Spike, so we're gonna have a spell shield. And the Jax really wanted to get that tower out of the way, so he'll die for that, and that'll put us in a good spot to push out mid, and we'll turn on the Baron. And next when you find us, we're in the base with the Baron buff. And this is where you know it's kind of hard to not get caught out when they engage like this Zac, so you just got to be here to peel. We're just trying to peel because Lowy's pushing minion waves. If I can make sure not too many of my teammates die, we'll be able to get some significant structure damage. That's what we're looking for here. We're not going to win this fight so close to their base. So yeah, Ezreal is going to overstay here, and we'll be able to pick him off right in front of Aurelia. We have the Frozen Heart at this point, so both of them have reduced attack speed, so I'm not too worried. She's not really hurting me too bad. And the final push is going to be here. We just got to make sure that their engages fail, and we can finish off with our ults. Just look for the executes, make sure you're in range to dash in with your ultimate. And that'll be game. Now, to summarize, what to take away from this one is tempo. If your lane's sold out, roam mid. Find those kills. Where are your kills going to come from? You have to find your plays. Where's your jungler? Where's your man advantage? Right? Roam around, show up, make a numbers advantage, and make your plays. Once you have that gold lead, then you can all in the bot lane until you take the bot tower. Right? As soon as Lucian had a level advantage and I had my serrated Dirk, I'm jumping on the bot lane over and over and over. Trying not to get outplayed while I do it, but trying to get my damage out and get good trades. With Pyke, it's it's basically an all-in. You don't really have much to trade with, so you have to pose the question: hey, can you win this all-in? And if they can't win the all-in, with Lux Ezreal, it was easy enough just to all-in them over and over and over. If they had Nyla or Samira or something, it might be a little bit of a different story. You really have to look at all the matchups. I kind of probably got lucky winning the first fight with Aurelia versus Ziggs mid without Ziggs dying. That was a huge bonus. But overall, very annoying game from us, and we'll move on to game 2. Alrighty, we got Pyke Draven here, Swain Vel'Koz. So it's good to note that we should be going into this thinking about magic resistance. Now right off the bat here out of base, I'm going to ping my team to help me and ping where I'm going. So that's an assist ping and a I'm on the way ping. And then we're going to walk around the vision here because they can see out of their bush. So if you hug this wall here, you get the most amount of time to land your hook here in their tri-bush. And that's an easy first blood for your Draven. So after that, for the level 2 here, we're going to go on the opposite side of the wave of the Vel'Koz. And once we hit level 2, we're going to all-in immediately. This will blow both of their flashes. And you don't try to kill on this first all-in usually, just burn their flashes. If you can hold Ignite, go ahead and hold Ignite there. Now the Vel'Koz misplays here and takes a real bad trade that ends with him just dying. You gotta peel out your 80 carry, and then here I'm just gonna bait. I'm gonna get hit with a pole, and I'm gonna auto a minion, and that'll just bait the Swain into staying just a little too close. And that's enough damage for another kill. Now after we base and reset, we're gonna walk mid and look around the map. Now, as soon as we see their jungler invading ours, we can go help out with that. He's a little too far forward. And he knows he's made a mistake, but it's too late. Now with our kills, we have a little item advantage over the bot lane, and all-ins are pretty easy. If they're ever away from their tower, you can just force the all-in. As long as you don't totally misplay and miss all your abilities, you're gonna win the all-ins.
That was a fuck up.
Easy way to dive with Pyke if somebody's alone on their towers to get behind them and E forward, and then that'll put you in a safe spot. Easy land the hook, and I probably should tank one more tower shot there. Make sure you use your whole health bar if you can. Now if they're ever stepping away and they think you based, that's an easy time. You got to be on the same page with your teammate here. Easy time to just bait them into another all-in. We are so far ahead now that the game's basically out of their hands unless they get good jungle ganks. Now here I play just outside Swain's ult as long as I can so he doesn't heal off of me, and we'll go ahead and finish him off. Here I'm hitting the tower and he doesn't respect that I can hook him there. You just kind of bait by auto-attacking things and turning your back to them, and they'll think you're not paying attention. Now off base here, we're going to roam up to a grub fight. We saw before Nocturne ulted that there was a bunch of people up here fighting, and we'll just make sure we show up there. This is on our Voltaic Cyclosword power spike, so we are pretty strong right now. We're even able to get out of this engage from the Nocturne and kind of lead him around on a goose chase until he overextends. Now, the team starts to lose the fights here. The Draven dies on his own. Nobody's respecting their Nocturne engage. And this can be pretty hard to carry, but you cannot die with your team. The last thing you want to do is die with your team. So I'm just doing what I can, playing around the outside of the fight. And then I'm looking for, oh look, my opportunity to land some ultimates. Now that the Swain's got his ult ran out, you don't really want to engage him with his ult up. You can just kind of finish him off with basic attacks. Really nice. Now the enemy thinks that they can kind of run us over at this point, and our team's trying to FF because our Dravens died over and over and over. And that can be a real hard position to come back from, but you just got to wait for them to be over-aggressive. A lot of games, they'll just be over-aggressive, and you'll be able to punish them. Even though, you know, one of your teammates is playing over-aggressive, hopefully they turn around and play over-aggressive also, and then you're able to get those kills off. Yeah, here we got our Maw of Malmortius. So the Swain's ult is just not a big deal anymore. And again, a second time, the Swain is just walking up too far alone. And now we have Draven alive behind us, so we can probably make a winning play here. He's lost most of his health again. So they do have to respect that he can follow up. And we actually end up winning the fight. Now their top laner pushes up too far, and we're just going to join the side lane skirmish. And finally, right after that, we find them all in the river. And, you know, we're just going to play in front of our Draven and try to not let him get picked off again. He's not really respecting what they can do. But if they're mispositioned like that after we have a numbers advantage, take use of it. I mean, Teemo's pushing bot wave there, so it's actually just an even fight, but Draven is still super strong. You gotta at least trade off Ambessa there for Draven. You know, he's dead again, but at least we traded somebody off for him. In a grindy game like this, you're just looking for whatever you can get. Can't let this Nocturne get away like this so easily. The Cyclosword slow comes in clutch there. And I even went Hullbreaker this game to try to get the game over with because my Draven was dying so much. But we did get that Hexdrinker, and this is the final fight here with our 3 items, and we just play it slow. You don't want to be the target on a squishy assassin. Time the Swain's Hourglass. Now we get in with our Hullbreaker. In a grindy game like that, you gotta have a lot of patience. You know, we had such a huge lead early, but a lot of the times your teammates are gonna play over aggressive. And thankfully, the enemy also does a lot of the time, so you have a chance still. Jesus, that was way too long. I mean, I had a fun game, but jeez, man. Yo, playthrough pulse, back at it again, hit you with another video. What I do. We got little Pyke action, Morgana. So the trick here is not to run into any bindings. I can dash flash over a binding and hit them. We also have Ramus. That kind of counterpicks our Master Yi, doesn't it? I think Bessa is probably pretty important, but I do want to use Nyla passive to hit level 6. Oh, also I can help. Okay, we got the classic third bush cheese level 1. Me and Nyla are both all-in champions, so it works really well to get a good chunk of health off of both of them here. We both missed the first minions. And that's going to set up the next play, where I'm going to just unexpectedly all-in this Morgana right here. Too fast. She didn't level up Black Shield, so not really a response there. Uses her flash too late. And after that, we even could blow Israel's flash for a little bit of my health. That puts them both with no flash for this jungle gank. Neither of them have flash, and we're going to try to outplay this here. Getting our ADC out, body blocking, and then we're going to get out, create as much space. We're going to stop the Q from hitting us from the Ramus. No! And that just barely gives us enough. Now, the interaction here is when I'm healing, Nyla will heal me also with my passive. So I'm able to get up to over half life here after surviving the gank. This leaves Ezreal so low that we're able, with Nyla's level 6 from her passive, and me losing some of the minion XP to her, solo, to pull off this play with her ultimate. Now, to follow that up, I noticed that Azir has priority mid, so I ping him for the jungle invade. If we can kill this jungler while our jungler's farming the opposite side of the map, this is gonna basically win the whole game. This Ramus should not be able to play after this. And we are able to get him down fast enough before the Aurelion Soul can even rotate. Now off the base, we got 2 components of our first item, and the Morgana's already gone mid. The Ezreal's already FF'd at this point. He's already went AFK, and we're just gonna basically join whatever fights that we can, because we are now up a man. They can still make this really hard for you, like this fight here, where Aurelion Soul's got a level advantage, even though we have a gold advantage. It makes this a little bit harder, because he doesn't die in time for, he doesn't get low enough to execute range, because his levels gave him so much extra tankiness. Even when Nyla goes in, most characters would be in execute range there, but okay. After getting the mid tower, we just invade this Ramus again with our jungler, and it's a pretty easy kill on the Ramus, and their only last salvation is gonna be the Garen and topside. Granted, we do trade junglers in that exchange, so not the cleanest, but with all 3 of us up here this time for the Garen, they're gonna be in a pretty bad spot, and he's gonna agree with the rest of his team to FF that they know the AD carry is AFK, And it's all due to us turning that gank around early game with the
they're chasing him
Nyla
down.
passive
Very
plus
nice.
Pyke passive working together to cause all that extra healing.
Enemy has been slain.
Very nice. And they FF'd.
What a game. This is the kind of effect Pyke can have that just makes it feel like you can't play against him at all.
Okay.
Hello, viewer. It's me, Luke, the mind behind Playthrough Pulse, and I just want to say, hey, I hope you learned something from the video and you enjoyed it. Pyke's a really fun character to play, so I hope you pick him up. Post your suggestions on the next video that you want to see in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. Peace.